Hey everyone, welcome to the Slice of Construction podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is Patrick Murphy, the co-founder and CEO at Togal.AI. We did it. I got it right. There we go.
Thanks
Not
for
a
having
hard
me, Jared.
name, but I got it. It's so great to have you here, Patrick. I always start out with this one question to dive in. You're walking down the street, you run into someone, they ask you, what does your company do? What do you tell them?
We automate the takeoff process in estimating. So instead of doing a manual takeoff, which I learned to do with my grandfather, 20 years ago with a scale ruler, and then, was advanced with the mouse and basically coloring. There's, 15 million estimators in the world that spend most of their time doing quantity takeoffs. So we had the idea to use AI to automate that process.
One of the coolest parts about AI, period, is how it's enabled so many new things to happen that you couldn't do before, right? It's not that you couldn't do it effectively. Like there were probably so many businesses out there that if you could not leverage AI years ago, it would not have even made sense to pursue it as a business. So talk me through, our audience loves this piece too, like the AI piece. Like why was this so important to the business? Where is it kind of helping you create these core differentiators through your mind?
And I'll just add to it, it wasn't affordable and the expertise wasn't there, right? You didn't have machine learning experts and data analysts and the mathematicians that were even available to do this, 8, even 10 years ago. So there's, a combination of factors. And we had, I guess just lucky timing in 2019, when we got started with this. And the thesis was removing the monotonous, boring, sort of laborious part of the estimator's job away, because estimators have arguably one of the most important jobs in construction, right? They can't mess up. And this task of a takeoff is critical. But most contractors win or lose work based on the value engineering and the scoping and the bid leveling, right? And getting into those plans and really understanding the job and how it's going to be built, right? And how you're going to schedule it and all those details. And so that's sort of our thesis, is let the humans focus on that. Because oftentimes, as we know, it's not what's on the plans, it's what's not on the plans, right? And thinking forward how this job's actually going to be built and what's really going to need to be in it. And so that's where, Togal really got its start, right? It was a spin out of our family construction business, where we realized that the biggest piece of our overhead was humans coloring, right? And I said, wait a minute, we got 30 plus people coloring. It doesn't make any sense, right, in today's world. So that's really where we wanted to focus, is be the best takeoff tool in the world. And yes, we have AI and that enhances it, but we've been able to rethink an entire work process or workflow that really hasn't been rethought in 20 plus years, right? And not knocking, some of the legacy softwares, but they just haven't changed a whole lot, right? I mean, just the fact that we're web based is like, mind blowing for some people, but it enables so much more efficiencies for the companies, right? With collaboration, right? We got a tool, Jared, it's basically like Google Docs, but for your plans, right? Why are every person in the same company uploading documents and labeling? It makes no sense, right? Use Google Docs. Different people can work on, you can do the doors, I can do the drywall, someone else can do the flooring. It's all live, right? The boss can see it all, right? You can share it with your trades and your subs and all that. So anyway, there's so many interesting opportunities when you are web based, not to mention the AI.
Yeah, and it shaves off, like when you look at the whole process, right? Like if you're just shaving off even in an instance of like minutes in efficiency, right? Like you're adding minutes of efficiency across all these different tasks. That compounds, which is the exciting part, right? So talk us through some of the feedback that you've received from estimators to date.
So number one, just being web based is has been exciting for a lot of people, and especially some. We work with companies that are doing 5 million a year. We work with some doing 8 billion a year. So we really have a big array of customers, which is cool. To me, building a tool, hopefully our team is that can help everyone. But to me, the most exciting is helping those smaller companies get to that next level. And in order to grow as a business, and this is what we're hearing from a lot of these, smaller, mid-sized companies, they say, hey, we got to bid on more work. They didn't have maybe the bandwidth to go hire that $80,000 a year or so estimator to start bidding on more work. Now, all of a sudden, with with our platform for a few $1,000. Now they can bid on 10x more work, and they're putting out better bids. That's what they're telling us. Is they're not stuck in that minutia, that the coloring of these polygons and quantifying, how much drywall is there. With the click of a button, they've got that. Now they can focus on that value engineering, scoping, those components, put out better bids, and now they can start growing their business. So estimating is no longer the sort of linchpin for growth in a lot of these companies. Now, look, if you're, one of the, largest construction companies in the country, you can hire an estimate. It's not going to break the bank, but not everyone's in that place. But by the same token, those bigger companies can still bid on more work now, right? So it works across the board. It's just more impactful for those smaller, guys and girls out there getting started, which is, to me, some of the coolest stories that we hear. And some people ask, "Oh, aren't you going to displace my job?" Or not at all, right? Again, what we're seeing is companies are using Togal to grow their business and bid on more work. They're not getting rid of anyone, right? And now they're assigning those folks and estimators to do tasks that they actually care about, take a little bit more pride in, right? And not everyone, signed up to be an estimator because they wanted to count toilets or something, right? That wasn't the dream job, right? There's a lot more to it. So we're just removing that task. And if you think about it, I'd be shocked if in 5 years from now you got humans doing these takeoffs manually. It's just, we're going to look back in 20 years and say, "What? That's how you did that, Dad? That's crazy," right? So
Yeah.
to me, just a natural progression of technology.
Yeah, it's super interesting whenever people immediately, also anything AI related, right? They immediately go to this is going to displace jobs. And like naturally that just happens in any, like with any new technology over time, certain job, but it shifts into something else. And to your point, even for those big larger companies, you enable them to now to do more. It like AI enables the ability to be more efficient and get things done at a higher level, right? So same goes with what you're building, what you're
And
doing.
I just add to that real quick. What we always say is AI is not going to take your job, but the human using AI will, right? Just because they're going to be super powered, right? Now that's marketing, if that's sales, if it's estimating, right? You name it. It's a really valuable tool in your toolbox. So I always tell people, look at it like that.
Yeah, well, and add a word of caution to that. Same with what you were saying. I hear a lot of people that go, "I'm not going to use AI, not me," and it's like, do not complain that you can't find anything in a couple years
Right.
because, yeah. Anyway, what what excites you about what you're building right now? Like, what in terms of what's next that you can share with us here today? What's like really pumping you up every single day?
So many exciting features, right? I mean, we had a team meeting earlier today actually, and talking about some of our roadmap and what we have coming. So, one thing I'm excited to share and excited to release soon is a comparison tool. So instead of just overlaying two plans, right, with two versions, imagine doing that, but then getting a readout in human terms of everything that changed. So just a simple example, it's now a tub instead of a shower, or this wall moved 6 inches over. And what we're doing is basically doing a quantitative comparison. But what we're able to do is now distinguishing what might be important between a plumber, an electrician, and a general contractor, or whatever, whomever the trade is, and say, "Hey, this is really important to you. You might want to flag this." And why that is so exciting with a GC background is oftentimes, as you know, jobs are, 4 or 5 years sort of in the making, from pre-con to construction, and, turnover and all that. And there's a lot of changes that happen. And most, a lot, I should say, of profit fade for contractors comes because of those change orders that oftentimes just kind of get through the cracks. No, it's no big deal. Just do it real quick. And as we know, they're always a lot more complicated. So imagine having basically a blockchain of every single change from that very first set of plans you get all the way through the job. And it's just tracking it, putting in human terms. And then it's like, hey, here's all the changes that were made on this job. It's not just moving a little toilet or moving a wall, right? And having that in human terms, I think that's going to empower contractors so much with their owners, architects, et cetera. So to me, that's a really exciting feature we're working on. Another one is assemblies. right? This is really exciting. Bringing some AI into the assemblies, whether it's your paint, floor, wall types, and then one just most exciting, and this is going to not going to happen overnight, but really getting into the generative capabilities of AI. That's obviously the next sort of wave, and I'm a believer that in 5 to 10 years, if you're going to want to build a new house, Jared, or a condo, hotel, you're going to go into a software and you're going to have three inputs. You say, what's your address, what's your budget, and what's the style of construction you want, right? And with those three inputs, you're going to get a set of architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural drawings, and they're going to be up to code. Why? Because with your address, we're going to know exactly what the setback is, what the density, what the height is. We already have a spin out company called Togal.AI that's doing all of your fire, life safety, ADA code compliance, right? I don't want to get too deep here, but basically it is taking all of those codes, which are math at the end of the day, egress, right? Travel distance, fire sprinkler locations, and turning into algorithms. So with that address, the code, right? And what AI is really good at is taking in historical drawings and documents. So just say you're building a 2,500 square foot house. There's millions of those that have been built. AI can compress all that information. And at the end of the day, there's not an infinite way to do the plumbing layout, for example, right? So it can take the history of plumbing layouts and it can read the code, bring that together, and give you a set of plumbing plans. So it's not out of reach. The technology exists. We're trying to bring it all together. And I believe that's the future. And that turns the industry on its head in a very exciting way because I think it leads to more productivity, at least leads to more construction creativity, and ultimately bringing down the cost of construction for the consumer so we can put more people in housing.
Before things kicked off, right? And you wanted to go into this. Who had a like a major impact on you throughout your career that maybe led up to this point?
Countless people. I've been blessed to work in a family business, so I got exposed to a lot in the industry. Was able to see quite a few aspects of the business. Um, Left the industry for a bit. I'm a CPA by training. I worked at Deloitte for a bit, and then served in Congress for a couple terms, and that experience, of course, was eye opening. And in 2012, 13 was being exposed to AI and the future of work from a very different lens because I was thinking about it from preparing the country and looking at education to prepare for the jobs of tomorrow. But it sort of fast forwarded my mind looking at what was happening with some of the leading companies of the world. And then 2018, rejoined the family business and was able to bring some of those learnings that I was seeing, saying, wait a minute, why isn't our industry doing this? Right? We always get labeled as so antiquated and old school. We can adopt, right? There's no reason we can't bring some of these great technologies in. So to say an individual would be unfair to many. Blessed to have a very supportive family that I lean on heavily, and if I had to pick one, I'd say it's my dad, right? He's my best friend. We work together closely and get to bounce a lot of great ideas off
Yeah, you
and
don't
bad
have to.
ideas.
Yeah, no, it's I like I always like hearing the different answers for that, and sometimes it's great to hear one name, but it's I always do like hearing when it's the group effort. Very much like I just watched. I'm from Boston, so Celtics just
Oh
took home
yeah,
the championship.
Kid 12.
Uh, and I love when I hear the team though talk about like it takes a team. It's not
Yeah.
just one person. It's a group of us. So I like your answer. What when I have people on here, Patrick, I always bring up to a couple of just kind of random questions, but people love to hear them. And I would love to hear, as you were building this business, what's one piece of like really good advice you received from someone?
One of the best pieces of advice that I heard, but I didn't listen to enough, was obsess over those first few customers, right? Those first 10 or 15 people. Really understand what it is they like about the product, what they don't like. Are they going to pay for it? And if not, why? Right? What's really missing? And we were naive, optimistic that the AI was going to be so exciting and so powerful. That's all that was going to matter. But it turned out we needed basic manual takeoff tools, sort of the blocking and tackling of any product that's there. and really understand from that customer and listen to them, because you're going to get product market fit a lot faster if you're honest with yourself and listen to those customers, because uh, they're trying to help you out whether you realize it or not. So that was probably the biggest piece of advice that I wish I would have listened to better.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's a lot of us hear it, but it takes a while to actually fully, like you said, okay, this makes 100%, 100% of sense. We should go ahead and do this. It's just incredible the learnings that you get when you spend so much time on those initial few customers, and what good it can do for the next batch of customers. Like, talk me through kind of as the last question, and we can kind of wrap up here. How do you take feedback? What type of feedback do you like to receive? How do you like to receive it? And then how do you determine what should go, you know, what should go to the product, and what should this is just maybe something that we keep in mind for the future.
Sure. More feedback, the better, in my opinion. Right. I love hearing direct from customers, and not that the company's like so big now, but the bigger it does get, the less direct correspondence you have with those customers. So I love going to the events, I love going to the trade shows, I love listening to some of the customer service calls, the onboarding calls, and those sales calls, to hear directly from those customers. But oftentimes it's being filtered from the head of, say, sales or customer success, for example, of what's going wrong, what needs to be improved, that sort of thing. But staying out there at the events, I think for me is good bang for the buck. We can meet customers, you can see other softwares, you can see some of the executives at other big companies. So what are they really needing or looking for? But then what are the everyday customers really struggling with, perhaps? So to me, that's a great way to get out there.
I love it. Patrick, I want to thank you again. I want to get you on like a panel or something, and we can dig deeper at some point.
Sure.
But I
Yeah, I'd
appreciate
love
you
to.
for talking some AI with us, telling us about your journey, and
Yeah.
always great to chat here.
Thanks for having us on, man. I'd love to follow up anything you want. A panel or anything else. We're down for it. We're
Let's do it.
both in Florida, so it's easy. So.